She was the pride of the Philippines, the girl who shocked the world. But just hours before the biggest match of her life, the narrative flipped. The cheers turned into deafening silence, replaced by a storm of unexpected hate. The tennis prodigy who was supposed to be the underdog hero is now the villain in her own story. Why is the world turning its back on Alex Eala at the moment she needs them the most? This is the story of a backlash that no one saw coming, and it might just cost her everything. The roar of the crowd was deafening just 1 week ago. Alex Eala was the golden girl, the fresh face of tennis, carrying the hopes of an entire nation on her slender shoulders. Her journey to the finals was nothing short of a fairy tale, a narrative of grit and determination that resonated with millions. Every victory was a victory for the Philippines. Every fist pump was a celebration of national pride. She was the hero we didn't know we needed, a beacon of hope in a world often shrouded in cynicism. But the euphoria was a fragile bubble, a thin layer of glass waiting to be shattered. In the world of professional sports, adulation is a fickle currency, devalued the moment you stop performing. The support Alex received was rooted in victory. It was conditional. It was a love that demanded a return on investment, wins, trophies, and glory. The moment that investment seems threatened, the so-called fans turn into the harshest critics. The backlash didn't emerge from a single event, but was an accumulation of whispers. It started subtly in the corners of the internet, deep within forum threads. Some fans, in their obsessive desire for her to win, began to critique her technical ability, her serve, her backhand, her footwork. But these were just the building blocks. The experts started to emerge, claiming her aggressive style was a liability. She's too emotional, they said. She's not as strong as the European players, they argued. These were the first brickbats, thrown in the guise of constructive criticism. But then, the tone shifted. The technical criticisms gave way to personal attacks. Comments began to target her demeanor. She looks nervous. She's not as focused as she should be. This was the beginning of the insidious psychological war. It wasn't enough to doubt her abilities. They had to break her spirit. They poked at the insecurities that all athletes, no matter how strong, carry within them. The pressure of being the next big thing became a weapon used against her. The collective hope of a nation is a heavy burden, but it becomes unbearable when the nation starts to question your worthiness to bear it. The sudden scrutiny was paralyzing. Alex found herself not just playing against an opponent on the other side of the net, but also against the haunting voices of her own people, questioning her every move. She was no longer just the national pride. She was now a target for all the anxieties and expectations of a nation that wanted victory more than anything else. The irony is that the nation that built her up was now, intentionally or not, laying the foundation for her potential downfall. The whispers, once confined to the digital underworld, transformed into a roaring crescendo. It all started with a single, seemingly innocuous post from a sports analyst with a decent following. It wasn't a direct attack, but a carefully worded observation, a seed of doubt planted in the minds of the masses. Is Alex Eala's aggressive play style a recipe for disaster against a seasoned player? The headline read. To the untrained eye, it was analysis. To Alex, it was the first shot fired in a devastating war. The clickbait economy thrives on controversy, and soon every sports blog and YouTube channel was dissecting her weaknesses. They weren't just highlighting her strengths and areas for improvement. They were painting a picture of inevitable failure. The narrative shifted from, can she win, to how will she lose? The media, hungry for engagement, amplified these negative voices, creating an echo chamber of doubt. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy in the making. Then came the accusation of arrogance. A clip from a post-match interview where Alex was simply focused and confident was taken out of context. A simple, straightforward answer was recut and re-uploaded with a caption that screamed, hubris. The internet mob, ever eager to tear down a titan, took the bait. They accused her of disrespecting her opponent, of being cocky, of forgetting where she came from. The girl who was once praised for her mental fortitude was now being publicly shamed for it. This is the tragic irony of fame. The qualities that make you a champion, the unshakable belief in yourself, the steely gaze, the refusal to be intimidated, are the very things that the public will turn against you when you are no longer the darling. The same confidence that inspired millions was now being labeled as arrogance. It was a master class in how quickly the public can devour its own heroes. The most shocking development was the emergence of fans questioning her loyalty. Because she trained abroad, because her game had an international flair, some started to whisper that she had lost touch with her roots. They questioned her passion, her pusong Filipino heart. This was the ultimate betrayal. A young woman who had given her everything to represent her country was now being accused of not caring enough. She was being used as a pawn in a cultural war, her dedication put on trial by people who had never stepped foot on a court. She wasn't just fighting for a match, she was fighting for her identity. To understand the venom directed at Alex Eala, you must first understand the psychology of the mob. What drives ordinary people to turn so viciously against a young athlete they once adored? It is a complex cocktail of projection, jealousy, and a deep-seated ugly human trait, the gleeful desire to watch the mighty fall. The first ingredient is the false hope phenomenon. Alex's unexpected rise gave her fans a vicarious sense of glory. In her victories, they felt victorious. But this deep emotional investment creates a fragile ego. When the possibility of loss emerges, it threatens this ego. The fans, terrified of the pain of losing, preemptively detach themselves from the athlete. They criticize her to protect themselves. By saying, "She wasn't good enough anyway," they are protecting their own hearts from the sting of disappointment. They throw her under the bus to save themselves from the emotional fallout. Then there is the deep-seated jealousy. Alex Eala is young. She is talented, and she is on the verge of achieving a dream that most people only fantasize about. For many, watching her success is a constant reminder of their own unfulfilled potential. The hater mentality is often a defense mechanism. By poking holes in her game, by diminishing her achievements, they are temporarily elevating themselves. They can't beat her on the court, so they try to defeat her in the court of public opinion. The anonymity of social media provides the perfect breeding ground for this toxicity. The keyboard warriors feel powerful behind their screens. There are no consequences for the hate they spew. It's a mob mentality where everyone is competing to be the most shocking, the most ruthless, the most critical. They dehumanize Alex, reducing her to a name and a picture. They forget that behind the athlete is a human being with feelings, anxieties, and fears just like them. This psychological warfare is a devastatingly effective tactic. It is designed to destabilize. It is designed to make her question herself. The goal is to get inside her head, to make her overthink, to make her doubt the very abilities that got her this far. A single negative comment might be ignored, but thousands of them create a storm of negative energy that is almost impossible to block out. The haters know this. They are not just critiquing her game, they are actively trying to sabotage her mental health. As the noise from the outside world threatens to engulf her, Alex Eala faces a choice. She can crumble under the weight of the backlash, or she can use it. This is the moment that defines a true champion. This isn't just a tennis match anymore. It is a test of will, a battle for her mental sovereignty. The question is, will she fight back, or will she retreat? A lesser player would be destroyed by this kind of scrutiny. They would be consumed by the need to defend themselves, to justify their existence. They would be on social media, firing back at the trolls, trying to explain themselves to people who don't want to listen. That is the trap. That is what the haters want. They want to drag her down to their level, to distract her from what truly matters. But a champion with high emotional intelligence knows that you can't fight fire with fire. You have to starve the fire of oxygen. The most powerful move Alex can make is to withdraw from the noise, to deactivate the notifications, to create a fortress of silence around herself. She doesn't owe these people an explanation. Her game is her response. Her performance is her rebuttal. Instead of being consumed by the backlash, she must weaponize it. This is the profound shift in mindset from victim to warrior. Every negative comment, every viral hate post, every expert analysis that calls her a failure is simply more fuel for the fire. She can walk onto the court with a burning intensity, not to prove her detractors wrong, but to prove her supporters right. She can channel the aggression being directed at her into her power shots. The strategy is simple: detach, observe, and destroy. Detach from the emotional pain of the criticism. Observe it as a purely external factor, like the wind or the sun, and then destroy the narrative on the court. This requires a level of psychological discipline that is incredibly rare. It requires her to compartmentalize, to separate the noise of the world from the task at hand. The court becomes her sanctuary, the only place where her voice matters. This is the ultimate revenge. Not a bitter tweet or a snarky comment, but hitting a winner down the line and looking into the camera with a smile that says, "I heard you, I see you, and I'm still standing." She has the power to transform this moment of intense adversity into the most compelling chapter of her success story. The world expects her to crumble. She will shock them all by rising. The real match is never played on the court. It is played in the hours leading up to it, in the silence of the locker room, in the quiet moments before the chaos begins. This is the match that truly matters. For Alex Eala, this pre-match mental battle is more challenging than any opponent she will face across the net. The backlash wasn't just noise. It was an attempt to defeat her before she even arrived. The pressure is immense. In the previous tournament, the cheers were her fuel. Now, even the silence in the stadium will feel like condemnation. The normal pre-match rituals, the handshakes, the wave to the crowd, are now charged with anxiety. She walks into the stadium not just to face a player, but to face the judgment of millions. The physical opponent is just the visible adversary. The real enemy is the ghost of public opinion. This is the moment of truth. Will the backlash break her? The accusations, the cynicism, the betrayal from those she sought to inspire. It's a heavy burden. Every athlete has a breaking point, a moment where the mind screams, "Enough." For Alex, that moment is now. She looks at her reflection in the locker room mirror, and for a second, the doubt creeps in. Is she good enough? Is she strong enough? The whispers that were once just noise become her own inner voice. But a true champion finds a way. The path to victory is forged in these moments of crisis. This is when she must call upon every ounce of mental strength and resilience she has. She thinks of the long hours on the practice court, the early mornings, the sacrifices. She reminds herself that her journey is not defined by the fleeting opinions of strangers. She built this career with her own two hands, and no amount of online hate can take that away. The decision she makes in this silent moment determines everything. She chooses to fight. Not for the nation, not for the fans, but for herself. She realizes that the backlash was the ultimate test, the final hurdle in her emotional training. If she can survive this, she can survive anything. She walks out of the locker room. The noise washes over her. But this time, she is immune to it. The match of her life is about to begin, and she is ready. The world is about to witness that some athletes are not just defined by their wins, but by how they rise after they have been knocked down. If you enjoyed this latest tennis update and want to stay ahead of the biggest stories in the world, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to World Zone right now. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the action. See you in the next video.